1. What is the purpose of dress codes in society? I think the main purpose of dress codes is to help people dress appropriately for different situations in society. In places like schools or workplaces, dress codes create a professional and respectful environment, which encourages people to behave more seriously. They also help reduce confusion about what is suitable to wear, especially in formal situations. Another purpose is to reduce judgment based on fashion or expensive clothing. Personally, I believe dress codes are not meant to control people, but to maintain order and show respect to others. 2. What are the advantages of having a dress code? One major advantage of having a dress code is that it makes people look more organized and professional. It also reduces pressure about fashion, especially for students who may not be able to afford trendy clothes. When everyone dresses similarly, people tend to feel more equal and confident. In addition, dress codes help people focus more on work or study instead of appearance. From my point of view, dress codes can create a more disciplined environment. 3. What are the disadvantages of dress codes? However, dress codes also have some disadvantages. They can limit personal freedom and prevent people from expressing their individuality. Some dress codes are too strict or uncomfortable, which may affect people's confidence. In certain cases, people may feel stressed or judged if they do not fully follow the rules. That's why I think dress codes should be flexible rather than rigid. 4. Does what you wear really matter? Why or why not? Yes, I think what you wear does matter, especially when meeting people for the first time. Clothes often create first impressions and show how serious or respectful you are. For example, dressing neatly can make others see you as more confident. However, in the long run, personality and behavior are much more important than appearance. So clothes matter at first, but they don't define who you are. 5. What does "don't judge a book by its cover" mean? This phrase means that we shouldn't judge people only based on their appearance. Someone may look simple or unfashionable, but they could have great abilities or a good personality. Appearance can be misleading, especially at first glance. I strongly agree with this saying because true value comes from inside, not from the way someone looks. 6. Do you think people judge you by your appearance? Yes, I think people often judge me by my appearance, especially when they meet me for the first time. The way I dress may influence how people think about my personality or attitude. For example, dressing casually might make others think I'm not serious, although it's not fair. It's very common in everyday life. 7. Have you ever judged someone by their clothes? To be honest, yes, I have judged people by their clothes before. Sometimes it happens unconsciously, without me realizing it. However, after talking to them, I often find that my first impression was wrong. This experience has taught me not to judge people too quickly based on appearance. 8. Describe a time when you felt uncomfortable because of what you were wearing. There was a time when I wore casual clothes to an event that turned out to be quite formal. Everyone else was dressed nicely, and I felt uncomfortable and out of place. I became more self-conscious and less confident. After that experience, I learned to always check the dress code before attending important events. 9. Do you think school uniforms are a good idea? Why or why not? Yes, I think school uniforms are a good idea. They create equality among students and reduce pressure about fashion and brand names. Uniforms also help students focus more on studying rather than comparing clothes. However, I think uniforms should be comfortable and suitable for students' daily activities. 10. Should people be free to wear whatever they want at work or school? I believe people should have some freedom in choosing what they wear, but not complete freedom. In workplaces or schools, there should be basic rules to ensure everyone dresses respectfully. Without rules, some people may dress inappropriately, which can affect the environment. So a balance between freedom and rules is the best solution. 11. How important is appearance in job interviews? Appearance is very important in job interviews because it creates a strong first impression. Dressing professionally shows confidence, respect, and seriousness. Interviewers may feel more positive if a candidate looks neat and well prepared. However, I believe skills and experience are more important in the long term. 12. Do dress codes limit personal freedom? Yes, dress codes do limit personal freedom to some extent. People may not be able to dress the way they like. However, I think this limitation is acceptable in places like schools or workplaces. discipline, and professionalism are sometimes more important than personal style. Point 13. How does clothing reflect a person's personality or values? Clothing can reflect a person's style, confidence, and even cultural values. For example, some people prefer simple and comfortable clothes, while others like fashionable outfits. Clothes can give others a general idea about someone, but they don't show the whole personality. Personality is much deeper than appearance. Bot 14. What kind of clothes are appropriate for formal occasions? For formal occasions, people should wear neat, clean, and elegant clothes. Suits, dresses, or traditional formal outfits are usually appropriate. The clothes should not be too casual or flashy. The most important thing is to look respectful and suitable for the event. 15. What advice would you give someone about dressing appropriately? I would advise them to think carefully about the occasion, the place, and the people they are meeting. They should choose clothes that are clean, comfortable, and suitable for the situation. It's better to dress slightly more formal than to casual. Feeling confident in what you wear is also very important.
Topic: mobile phones. 1. What are some advantages and disadvantages of having a mobile phone? Mobile phones have many advantages in modern life. They allow us to communicate instantly, access information quickly, and stay connected with family and friends. For students, mobile phones are also useful for studying and online learning. However, there are some disadvantages such as distraction and addiction. Many people spend too much time on their phones and ignore real-life interactions. In my opinion, mobile phones are very helpful, but only when they are used in moderation. 2. How often do you use your mobile phone every day? I use my mobile phone quite frequently throughout the day. I usually check it in the morning for messages and news, and during the day for studying and communication. Sometimes I use it for entertainment when I want to relax. However, I try not to use my phone too much at night because it can affect my sleep. Overall, my phone is a big part of my daily routine. 3. What do you mainly use your phone for? I mainly use my phone for communication and studying. For example, I message friends, check emails, and search for information related to my lessons. I also use my phone for entertainment, such as listening to music or watching short videos. In addition, it helps me manage daily tasks like setting reminders. So my phone is both a learning tool and a source of relaxation. 4. Why do people use emoticons in their text messages? People use emoticons to express emotions more clearly in text messages. When texting, we cannot see facial expressions or hear tone of voice, so emoticons help avoid misunderstandings. They also make messages feel friendlier and less serious. In my opinion, emoticons make online communication more natural and closer to real conversations. 5. Do you prefer calling or texting? Why? Personally, I prefer texting rather than calling. Texting is more convenient because I can reply whenever I have time. It also gives me time to think before responding. However, when something is urgent or important, I think calling is better because it allows immediate communication. So, it depends on the situation. 6. What impacts have mobile phones had on our daily life? Mobile phones have greatly changed the way we live. They make communication faster and help people stay connected anytime and anywhere. Mobile phones also support work, study, and entertainment. However, they have reduced face-to-face communication. In my opinion, mobile phones improve our lives, but they also change our social habits. 7. Do you think your phone is your lifeline? To some extent, yes, my phone feels like a lifeline. I rely on it for communication, studying, and daily organization. Without my phone, life would be less convenient and more difficult. However, I don't want to depend on it completely because I think balance is important. 8. What would you do if your mobile phone was lost or stolen? If my phone was lost or stolen, I would feel stressed at first. I would immediately block my SIM card to protect my personal information. After that, I would contact my family or friends using another device. This situation would remind me to be more careful with my belongings. 9. How have mobile phones changed the way we communicate? Mobile phones have made communication much faster and easier. We can contact people through calls, messages, or social media instantly. However, communication has become less personal. Many people prefer texting instead of talking face-to-face. I think face-to-face communication is still more meaningful. 10. Should schools make restrictions on using mobile phones? Yes, I think schools should make some restrictions on mobile phone use. Phones can distract students during lessons and reduce concentration. However, they can also be useful for learning if used properly. Therefore, schools should control phone use instead of banning them completely. 11. When is it acceptable to use a mobile phone in public places and when is it not? Using a mobile phone in public places is acceptable, as long as it doesn't disturb others. For example, texting quietly is fine. However, talking loudly on the phone can be rude. People should be aware of their surroundings and behave politely. 12. Do you think people are too dependent on their phones today? Yes, many people are too dependent on their phones. They check their phones constantly, even during conversations or meals. This habit can affect relationships and communication skills. I think people should learn to control their phone usage. 13. How do mobile phones affect relationships between people? Mobile phones help people stay connected, especially long-distance relationships. However, they can also reduce the quality of relationships. When people focus too much on their phones, they may ignore the people around them. Balance is the key to healthy relationships. 14. What problems can mobile phone addiction cause? Mobile phone addiction can cause many problems, such as lack of concentration and poor time management. It can also affect mental health and sleep quality. In addition, it may weaken real-life relationships. I think people should be more aware of this issue. 15. How do you think mobile phones will change in the next 10 years? In the next 10 years, mobile phones will become more advanced and intelligent. They may use artificial intelligence to support daily tasks and learning. However, I hope people will learn to use technology more responsibly. Technology should support our lives, not control them. Topic: Manners and etiquette. 1. Why is it important to have good manners? I think good manners are important because they show respect for other people. When someone behaves politely, it makes communication smoother and more comfortable. Good manners also help create a positive impression, especially in social or professional situations. In my opinion, manners reflect a person's upbringing and attitude toward others. 2. What is the best way to learn about manners and etiquette of another country? The best way to learn about another country's manners is to observe local people and communicate with them. Reading books or watching videos can help, but real experience is more effective. Making mistakes and learning from them is also part of the process. I think being open-minded is very important. 3. What are some things that people do that you consider rude? Some behaviors I consider rude include interrupting others, speaking loudly in public, and using phones during conversations. These actions show a lack of respect. Even small things like not saying thank you can leave a bad impression. In my view, people should be more aware of how their actions affect others. 4. What would you say to someone who is doing something rude? Depends on the situation. If it's a serious issue, I would politely point it out in a calm way. However, I wouldn't embarrass them in public. I think being respectful while correcting someone is the best approach. 5. When is it better to just ignore someone who is being rude? Sometimes it's better to ignore rude behavior, especially if the person is angry or aggressive. Arguing may only make the situation worse. In those cases, staying calm and walking away is a smarter choice. Peace is more important than being right. 6. Do you think manners are different between cultures? Give examples. Yes, manners definitely differ between cultures. For example, in some cultures, making eye contact shows confidence, while in others it may be considered rude. The way people greet or eat together can also be very different. That's why cultural awareness is important. 7. Should parents or schools be responsible for teaching children good manners? I think both parents and schools play important roles. Parents teach basic manners at home, such as saying please and thank you. Schools help children practice manners in social situations. In my opinion, good manners should be taught from a young age. 8. How do good manners affect first impressions? Good manners create a very positive first impression. When someone is polite and respectful, people tend to trust and like them more. First impressions are important, especially in interviews or social events. That's why manners really matter. 9. Do you think people today are less polite than in the past? Why or why not? I think people today are not necessarily less polite, but they express politeness differently. Technology has changed communication, and sometimes people forget face-to-face manners. However, many people are still kind and respectful. It depends on the individual. 10. How can good manners help a person succeed in life? Good manners can help people build strong relationships. Polite and respectful people are easier to work with and trust. In the long term, good manners can create more opportunities in both personal and professional life. I believe manners are just as important as skills. Topic: volunteering. 1. What types of voluntary work would you like to perform? I would like to take part in voluntary work related to education and the community. For example, I would enjoy teaching children from disadvantaged backgrounds or helping them with homework. I also find environmental activities like cleaning beaches or planting trees very meaningful. Volunteering allows me to contribute to society and feel useful. Overall, I prefer volunteer work that has a long-term impact. 2. Which charities do people contribute to in your community? In my community, people often contribute to charities that support children, the elderly, and people in need. Many people donate money, clothes, or food to local organizations. During natural disasters, communities also come together to provide support. These activities show strong community spirit. I think local charities play an important role in helping people directly. 3. What are some of the benefits of volunteering? Volunteering has many benefits for both society and individuals. It helps people in need and improves the community. For volunteers, it helps develop soft skills such as communication and teamwork. Volunteering also makes people feel more confident and satisfied. In my opinion, it's a valuable experience for personal growth. 4. Why don't more people volunteer? One reason is that many people are too busy with work or studies. Some people also think volunteering is tiring or not rewarding. Others may not know where or how to volunteer. In my opinion, better information and encouragement could help increase volunteer participation. Five. Should volunteering be mandatory? I don't think volunteering should be completely mandatory. Volunteering should come from willingness, not pressure. However, schools could encourage students to volunteer by offering rewards or recognition. This way, students can understand the value of helping others. 6. Tell me about a volunteer organization that you know. One volunteer organization I know focuses on helping underprivileged children. They provide free classes, school supplies, and emotional support. Volunteers often work on weekends and holidays. I think their work makes a real difference in the community. 7. List different ways of helping people, animals, and the environment. Which is the most useful? People can help others by donating money, teaching skills, or volunteering time. Animals can be helped through rescue centers or adoption programs. The environment can be protected by recycling or cleaning public areas. In my opinion, helping through education has the longest impact. 8. Do you think young people should volunteer more than older people? I think young people should volunteer more because they have more energy and time. Volunteering also helps them gain experience and build skills. However, older people can also contribute through experience and guidance. Both age groups are important. 9. How can volunteering help students prepare for their future careers? Volunteering helps students develop practical skills like teamwork and leadership. It also helps them understand real-world problems. Many employers value volunteer experience. In my opinion, volunteering can be a strong addition to a student's CV. 10. What challenges might volunteers face when helping others? Volunteers may face emotional stress or lack of resources. Sometimes the work can be physically tiring. In addition, volunteers may not receive enough support. Despite these challenges, many volunteers still find the experience rewarding. Topic: dating. 1. What makes you like or dislike someone you first meet? When I first meet someone, I usually notice their attitude and the way they communicate. If a person is polite, friendly, and knows how to listen, I tend to like them more. On the other hand, I may feel uncomfortable if someone is rude or arrogant. Appearance can create a first impression, but personality is much more important. In my opinion, the way someone treats others says a lot about who they are. 2. Speed dating and online dating. Are these the future of dating? I think speed dating and online dating will continue to be popular in the future. They are convenient, especially for busy people who don't have much time to meet others in real life. Online dating also allows people to connect with someone outside their social circle. However, it can be risky if people are not honest. Personally, I think traditional dating and modern dating will exist together. 3. What has had the most impact on dating practices? In my opinion, technology has had the biggest impact on dating practices. Social media and dating apps have changed the way people meet and communicate. People can now get to know each other before meeting in person. While this makes dating easier, it can also make relationships less serious. Technology has clearly changed dating culture. 4. What displays of affection are appropriate in public? I think simple displays of affection, such as holding hands or smiling at each other, are acceptable in public. These actions show care without making others uncomfortable. However, more intimate behavior should be kept private. In public spaces, people should be respectful of others. In my view, public affection should be modest. 5. Should people of different backgrounds, races, ethnicities, or faiths date? Yes, I believe people from different backgrounds should be free to date. Love and respect are more important than background or religion. Dating someone from a different culture can also help people learn and grow. However, couples should understand and respect each other's differences. Open communication is the key to success. Six. Do you believe in love at first sight? I think love at first sight can happen, but it is very rare. Usually, it is more about attraction than real love. True love takes time to develop through understanding and shared experiences. From my experience, feelings become stronger when people really get to know each other. So I believe love grows gradually. 7. What qualities are most important in a healthy relationship? In my opinion, trust and communication are the most important qualities in a relationship. Couples should be honest and open with each other. Respect is also essential, especially when there are disagreements. Without these qualities, relationships can easily fail. A healthy relationship requires effort from both sides. 8. How has social media changed the way people date today? Social media has made dating more public and more complicated. People can learn a lot about someone before meeting them. However, it can also create pressure and misunderstandings. For example, people may compare their relationships to others online. I think social media should be used carefully in dating. 9. Do you think dating is more difficult now than in the past? Why or why not? Yes, I think dating today is more complicated than in the past. People have more choices, which can make it harder to commit. Technology also creates unrealistic expectations. However, dating today is also more flexible. It depends on how people use modern tools. 10. What advice would you give to someone going on a first date? I would advise them to be themselves and not pretend to be someone else. They should listen more and try to have a natural conversation. It's also important to be polite and respectful. In my opinion, being honest and relaxed makes the best impression.